Good afternoon, brethren and guests. Welcome to another Saturday afternoon with the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. I'm going to read a psalm. I will praise thee with my whole heart. Before the gods will I sing praise unto thee. I will worship toward thy holy temple and praise thy name for thy loving kindness and for thy truth. For thou hast magnified thy word above all thy name. In the day when I cried, thou answeredst me and strengthenedst me with the strength in my soul. All the kings of the earth shall praise thee, O Lord, when they hear the words of thy mouth. Yea, they shall sing in the ways of the Lord, for great is the glory of the Lord. Though the Lord be high, yet has he respect unto the lowly, but the proud he knoweth afar off. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, thou wilt revive me. Thou shalt stretch forth thy hand against the wrath of my enemies, and thy right hand shall save me. The Lord will perfect that which concerneth me. Thy mercy, O Lord, endureth forever. Forsake not the works of thy own hands. Selah and Selah. Amen. Good afternoon, everyone. It feels so good to be here today. I just have to take a minute to just say how happy I've been just tuning in to Friday and Saturday. The messages have just been amazing. I mean, my goodness, we had such a special treat these past couple of weeks with our master teacher, Elder Shadrach, and he came up here to discuss a very important subject, one that all of us should have on the tip of our tongues whenever we're speaking to anyone that looks like us. Week after, we had Elder Andel and Priest Tyrone that come up and to really define and hone in what Elder Shadrach was talking about. And ladies and gentlemen, if you missed those last two messages, I encourage you to please go back and rewatch them. Rewatch, play, rewind, fast forward, take notes, whatever it is you need to do to really let the message sink in on the terminology or the term Jacobites. Some people might say Jacobites. Jacobites. We're not African, we're not black, we're not Negroid, we're not color. We have a title, a rightful name. We're not slaves and we're not enslaved either. But we do have a title that is rightfully ours. We always go back to the beginning. Let's take it back, right? To the very beginning in the book of Genesis. Abraham, our forefather, the patriarch of the Israelite nation, and this family who the covenant was made with, his name was changed from Abram to Abraham. This spiritual transformation took place, so to speak. And the foreskin of his flesh was sealed in a covenant, even that blood, to be known as the children of the circumcision. He had a child of his own child named Isaac. His son Isaac carried that birthright, carried on that covenant, that agreement with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Back then, even the God Almighty. And from Isaac, who had his own child, Jacob. And as we know, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. And I'm going to linger here from Jacob to Israel. Why the difference, the differentiation between the two terms? Like I said with Abram and his name being changed to Abraham, this awakening, this spiritual transformation, so to speak, took place. Same with Jacob. The interesting part, though, is the people that look like me, boy, they are totally Jacobites. When you read the scriptures and look at the characteristics and the attitude, the attitude of my people, they certainly fit every single description in this Bible. From being feisty, from being stubborn, from being stiff-necked, from being chips in their teeth. All the things that our people do, they behave like the Jacobites in this Bible. But when you decide to say I want to worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because even though they were of this blood and this lineage, they behaved like a people that didn't belong to a God. They worshiped all these other gods. They went a-whoring. So in that, we say they are Jacobites. But when you decide to turn back and say, by gosh, I'm going to worship the one true living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, then you are called out from that and wear and bear your rightful name, an Israelite. We've gotten so confused in these last decades, even this third and fourth generation. We've seen so many Jacobites come and go. They've come and tried to lead our people, teach our people, have them only going astray. You know, I was just saying to our priest Ando here that when I was in high school, I used to do a night school. I don't even know if that's still around, but night school. And there was this organization that left the USA to come all the way to Toronto, Canada, to teach or to speak about their organization for about, 40 minutes? I don't even think it was an hour. And this organization was called MOVE. It was a Black nationalist group. They came about in the 70s, somewhere in Ohio. It was led by a man named Vincent Lepard. And he believed in the love of life and love everything. Everything around you is love. And to understand that the absolute necessity of life and protecting all life is equal. Meaning that all living beings are equal. So if you're a dog, you're equal to man. If you're a ladybug, you're equal to man. If you're a cat, you're equal to a bear. And if you're equal to soil, if you're soil, you're equal to air and water and to flesh. So much so that if he would be walking down the street and saw an insect on the sidewalk, he would wonderfully, nicely, pleasantly walk around the insect. He believed in this so much that he believed that Africa was the beginning of all things, to the point that he decided to change his name to John Africa. Not only did he change his name to John Africa, but all the members that followed his organization too decided to change their last name to Africa. So you had a Mary Africa, a Fred Africa. Everyone in this organization changed their name following after this man in believing that Africa was the Mother Earth, so to speak. Well, as it turns out, like with all Black nationalist groups that we have, Panthers, I don't know, there's so many, I can't even name them these days. But all these groups that we've had with all these different leaders, of course, there's nothing new under the sun. Law enforcement got involved. The police don't like when Jacobites get together, unified, and organized. They don't like it. It's a threat. It's a threat to society, it's a threat to their economy, and it's a threat to their power. And like all the other Black nationalist groups, the police, law enforcement got together and searching for any little petty crime they could find to pin it on these Jacobites. So much so that in May of 1985, that there was a shootout between the officers and the people of MOVE. They were in a house on a street because weeks before, law enforcement accused them of shooting a police officer. So they were coming back for retaliation. And in this month of May in 1985, a battle ensued. 10,000 rounds of bullets, gunfire, back and forth. This shootout happened. And while the reporters and the news and media and press was all there to witness what was taking place, what they could not see was above them. And above them in the sky was a helicopter. And while this helicopter was circling the house of where this gunplay this event took on, the mayor of this city called the law enforcement and said, stop this battle. Of course, the chief or the sergeant ignored it. And unbeknownst to everyone there, this helicopter dropped a bomb, C4, on that house, killing adults and children. The house burnt for hours with no firefighter in sight to rescue. They let it burn. So much so that when it burnt and they took the body of John Africa out of the house, he was a corpse and took days to even recognize him and to verify that it was even his body. Why am I bringing this up? What's the point? So many Black leaders have tried to lead the Jacobites. John Africa wasn't the first man to change his last name. We know about the X and the X's, Malcolm X, another Black nationalist group, and Islam. We know about, like Elder Andel spoke about, going back to Egypt and all of our people wanting to attach to the Egyptians and that culture. Anything that stands on the wrong premise or the wrong foundation or the wrong label is not conducive to our spirituality, and it is a detriment to who we are as Israelites and to you as Jacobites. Nothing will grow and nothing will prosper if you decide to carry on in that fashion. Let this today or this day be the day that you decide to say, I'm going to wear my rightful title, even that, a Jacobite. And as you wear that title, I pray and hope that you will come to your rightful place of knowing, like Jacob's name was changed to Israel, that you too will know your place as an Israelite. And it should be on the tip of all of us, the tongues, anytime we speak. No more Black, Negroid, African. You speak to your colleagues, you let them know we are, or you are actually, a Jacobite. And you can let them know I'm an Israelite. And teach them the difference if they're interested. Nothing will grow in that spirituality, so much so that, I'm still broken by this. It never goes away. And I think the minute that I become desensitized to hearing this news, something is wrong. Something will be wrong. Since I was a little girl, anytime I watched the news, whether it was the beating of Rodney King, whatever it was, if a murder happens, if a serial killer is on the loose, and you wait for the day where they reveal the image, and all you do is you clench your hands tight and you say, I hope it's not a Jacobite. When will our people get it right? As Elder Andel spoke about last week, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson locking arms and going into prayer to the wrong God. To the wrong God. And Ben Crump in on the act. Minutes before the verdict was spoken out loud, minutes before, Micaiah Bryant, a 15 or 16-year-old, gunned down by a police officer. And I'm really hoping that I don't get desensitized to this. I really am, because I'm telling you, I'm holding on by a thread. Leading up to that, Dante Wright. And they're young. These aren't old. Just like in the book of Exodus, kill them from when they're a baby. Don't even let them see daylight. Don't even let them grow up to be prosperous. Don't let them grow up to have children, to carry on this generation and this culture. And I sit there hoping not to be desensitized, because like I would watch the news, I wonder about what my Jacobites are thinking. I really do. Like, I'm not going to use the term that the young people used last night. You know what I'm saying? That's Jacobite language. I'm going to give it to you in the Gentile tongue, because the spirit is so mingled and mixed, I don't know if you can tell the difference anymore. But this is what I'm going to say. When you watch the news, don't you, Jacobites, hold your hands to your hair and say, by golly, where is God? By golly, what's happening to my people? By golly, don't you look within yourself to see what is going on? Have we stopped asking those questions? Have we? If we have stopped asking those questions, then boy, something is terribly wrong. What I appreciate about the 60s and 70s, yeah, of course, wrong foundation, wrong platform, but at least they were searching for themselves. They wanted to know their history, because knowing your history heals you. It heals you from the inside out, physically and spiritually, and then you can pass that down to your child and let that healing carry on. For far too long, we've been in this bondage. For far too long, these generational curses. It's time to take the Band-Aid off and let that wound heal. Let it get the air so that we can thrive. Aren't you tired of watching our young people be gunned down? In our PWA chat room, or not, whatever, it's all over Instagram. Videos are going around about individuals talking about who likes us and who doesn't like us, who's the next in line, what nation is next in line to not like Jacobites. I don't care. Let me tell you something. Every single nation out there does not like Jacobites. Every single nation. There is none to your rescue but the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we have to understand that. We have to get that out and get it right. I don't know when it will end, and I pray that with the youth, who I absolutely love, and I love listening to our messages from our youth. Vibrant, amazing, incredible. You know, you guys, I watched last night. It was very interesting. And what I like about the youth of our time is they give their message from a very youthful perspective from today's time. And as I was listening, again, I was thinking to myself, geez, our youth, you know, they were mentioning all these, as they say, secular music. And I thought, yeah, that's cool and all, but I have to admit, I was feeling a bit disappointed to think that when the God of Israel made man, he came down and he poured all of whatever gifts and talents he gave. You some in cooking, you some in singing, you some in this and that. All these gifts he put into us. And to be here now and to witness Jacobites, and by golly, they can sing. As a matter of fact, sang. And to see them use that gift and that talent to worship another God, that cuts deep. And I was thinking, because I think it was Angel that wrote it in the chat, or maybe a young person said, when you listen to music, it takes you back to a place in time. There's this nostalgia. And the young people were saying, yeah, you know, you remember it and you It's great. But if it does that to you, taking you back to a place and time, how much more does it do it to the God of Israel? And if we're no longer singing his spiritual Negroes songs and now singing to this false God, then how does he feel? And when you have the opportunity to worship the one true God, do you? And do you do it with all your might? Every gift and talent that we were given by the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and Jacob was to do one thing and one thing only, to serve him. Because we are his creation. He is the creator, and he created us to serve him. But we have gone astray, and we have let him down. And now we turn on our televisions, our smartphones, and see Jacobites giving all of that talent to another God. So just like other nations don't like Jacobites, I have to admit, I know some Jacobites that don't like Jacobites. And I know some Israelites that don't like Jacobites. Because who wants to have that attitude carried on? It's only for our downfall. So young people, thank you for stepping up to the plate. I enjoy listening and continually want to watch you grow, because you are definitely the future, and I appreciate the sincerity of your messages. So you're better off calling yourself a Jacobite. It is your rightful title. In the past couple of weeks, I also enjoyed last week. Last week was fun. I think it was really fun. I really, really enjoyed last week. That was our Q&A for those who missed it. Tune in or go back and rewatch it. It was fun. It was fun to see our elder back up here. And I have to say something, like, whether you're reading the comments on YouTube or whether it's the incoming phone calls that we're constantly inundated with, I really have to say I truly appreciate the questions that come in with sincerity. Whether it's about circumcision, whether you're 18 or 90 asking about circumcision, whether you're asking about what took place in the Garden of Eden, whether it's do I eat swine or not eat swine, whether it's about when is the new moon or when is the Sabbath, those things do not get old to me. It doesn't get old to me when you ask about the Passover. It doesn't get old to me when you ask about baptism. It really doesn't get old to me when you ask and want to learn about the greatest God that there is. It's a joy to answer these questions. And you know what? If you ask 100 times, we're going to be happy to give it to you 100 times. Because some people, as back in the school, well, I'm not going to go there. I was going to say dunce cap, but I won't go there. It's a little thick. Some people are a little thick. Maybe that's a nicer way to say it, right? And it's okay, because everyone learns at their own pace. And if you're not learning every day, then something's wrong. If you're not learning something in our instruction manual every single day, or every year, or every month, however many times you pick up the scriptures, if you don't get it right away and you go back a couple days later, if you're not learning, I don't know what to say to you, man. You better call some brethren and do some deep praying and studying. Because it says where two or more are gathered, his spirit will be there. And let me add this, with an Israelite. Because you're not going to learn from a Gentile or someone from Islam or someone from Christianity. It's just not going to work. So I really appreciated the Q&A. I love seeing our master teacher, Elder Shadrach, up here. He talked about being a simple man doing God's work. And let's face it, all of us are here trying to do God's work and trying to do it to the best of our ability. So that stuff really doesn't get old to me. In fact, I enjoy it. What I will say is this, okay? What does get old to me, honey, is asking about pants and beards and women teaching and this and that. What gets old to me is you not knowing how to treat a brethren. What gets old to me is not understanding your purpose as an Israelite or even a Jacobite. What gets old to me is that you've been around, or you're trying to come in, or you're on this teeter-totter for years and can't figure it out. That gets old. That gets tired. Nobody wants to hear about that all the time. It says in the scriptures in Revelations, either hot or cold, not lukewarm. All right, let's go to some scripture. Let's go to Matthew chapter 9. All right, and we'll go down to verse 14. Then came to him the disciples of John, saying, Why do we and the Pharisees fast oft, but thy disciples fast not? And Jesus said unto them, Can the children of the bride chamber mourn, as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them, and then shall they fast. No man putteth a piece of new cloth unto an old garment, for that which is put in to fill it, uptaketh from the garment, and the rent is made worse. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runneth out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved. This is a great parable. You know, oftentimes when you're in discussions with our elder, he talks about the going to a restaurant and why when you sit in the restaurant and you get wine, the oldest wine is the most expensive. Who said that? Why? Where did that come from? Right? Is it another marketing gimmick? And I'm honest, when I drink wine, I really can't tell the difference between the Shiraz and the Merlot and the dry and the this. It's all the same. It's all alcohol to me. It all does the same job. As long as it has the same effect, fine. But it's the new wine written about in the scriptures that really wakens us up. It's the new wine, not the old. You see, when the Pharisees came to question Jesus the Christ about fasting, he did answer them in this parable about the old and new wine. You know, take it like this. When our New Year comes, the greatest of all ever event on planet Earth comes around once a year in our Israelite calendar, Abib, the first month of our calendar. All of my brethren and myself, we plan weeks and months ahead of time thinking about what that outfit is going to look like on that day when we get together and jam and do our thing. We think from the hair to the shirt to the shoes to the feet, whatever it is, we even go out and buy a whole new outfit just so we can celebrate and say, God of Israel, this is our new year. Let us be prosperous once again. And although we may look great on the outside, it's our inner self that the God of Israel sees. And like when you buy a new outfit, you normally buy the entire outfit, right? It feels weird to take something old and put it with something new. You don't feel right. You don't feel as fresh as you could be. But when you have an entire new outfit on, you walk in, you strut, you glide and move around. But when you mix old with the new and not able to make a decision, that's when you lose. When you leave that title of a Jacobite and come into yourself as an Israelite, everything goes. That baggage, that burden, that old wine. We should strive for perfection. Like how the God of Israel told Abraham, walk before me and be thou perfect. We should strive for perfection. Because when we try to live in these two, old world and new world, old self and new self, it doesn't mix. That's why when you get this new waking up, this new spirituality, you need to be that bottle to be new. Because all this newness, all this greatness about the God of Israel can't be contained in something old. It can't be contained in an old vessel. Everything about the God of Israel is amazing. You pour out new wine on his offerings. He loves that. It's up to us to make that change. And I don't care if you've been here yesterday or 40, 50, 70 years ago. All of us have these burdens and these baggage that we come into when we come into this new awakening that we brought with us because we all suffered from the bondage. And it's not easy. But when you do it, it's the most amazing feeling in the world. Change is difficult. But when you adapt to something new, my goodness, this truth is like nothing else in this world. And it's tough. It's not easy. You know, like when you're dieting, I know it's silly. If you're like me and you like sugar, nighttime is the best time for sweets. I don't know why. Gosh, ice cream is my weakness. But you know that it's not good for you. You know it's not good for you. You know that candy bar is going to give you diabetes. You just know it. And still, you eat it up. You eat the whole container ice cream. At times, we do underestimate the process that it takes to change. It does take time. It calls for digging deep and accepting what needs to be changed. Sometimes our lack of commitment. Maybe it's a fear of losing something. Our normal routine will be gone. Even sometimes believing in yourself and so much more. Real growth happens when you are uncomfortable. Real growth happens when you are uncomfortable. It is the process of change that makes life so much more meaningful. It's like having a business, right? You have a business, you have to go through all these trials. Sometimes a lot of failures, sometimes a lot of errors, before you can grow and know. Sometimes you lose so much money just because of things you didn't even know. But if you took the time to harness and to learn, that's how you grow. That's how you get into a place that is new and fresh and consistent. All I'm really trying to say is that this Israelite journey takes time. You will be tried and tested, and tried again and tested again and again and again. And all that is for you will be given to you at your appointed time. So just be patient. Let's take the story of Job. Everyone knows the story of Job and everything that he's gone through. Greatest, wealthiest man in all of the East, had 10 children, 10 sons, 3 daughters, right? Sacrificed every day. A righteous man, one that hated evil and worshiped the God of Israel. And then he went through all these trials. He lost everything that he had. His wealth was nothing. His children died. So much to the point where his body had boils, and even he was going through it. And even in all of his trials and tribulations, Job said, you know what? It's better that I wasn't even born. And even when he said it was better that he wasn't even born, he still blessed God. He still blessed the God of Israel and gave him the praise and the glory. He gave him the praise and glory when he had everything, and he gave him the praise and the glory when he had nothing. And to consider his wife, she said, curse God and die. But she also went through that journey with Job. She also was living in that life of luxury. She also lost her 10 children. She also experienced those trials and those tribulations. She was hurting to the point that, gosh, she uttered out even the worst thing to utter out to Job. But thankfully, Job was strong, and in his weakness was still able to say, praise the God of Israel. She went through these things, but she is still yet a strong woman. She was there. I mean, an Israelite woman will let you know when things are going awry. They will let you know. We have all different kinds of women. We're strong. We're going to tell you what we're thinking. We're opinionated. We are. We have lots of opinions. And we're courageous. Let's go to Judges chapter 4. One of my favorites in Judges chapter 4. This is such a great chapter. If you have the time, I really encourage you to read the entire chapter. And in one chapter, you can hear about two women, two courageous Israelite women. It's so funny. They put that both in one chapter. But let's go down to verse 17. And just some backstory. This is when Deborah and Barak, they were going after Canaan. Again, Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. And, they were going to chase them and try to overcome them, right? And as they're in this battle, Sisera flees. Okay, let's read it. Let's just read it. See, so they're going against Canaan. Verse 17. Howbeit, Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. For there was peace between Jabin, the king of Hazor, and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael went out to meet Sisera and said unto him, turn in, my lord. So think about it. The battle is hot. Soldiers, the army is on your heels, and Sisera is fleeing. Deborah, and Barak are chasing him. They're going to get him, and when they get him, you know what they're going to do. He's running, he's fleeing, and here comes Jael. Because, Israelite women, they're gorgeous. They're fair. Here's a place for you to hide. Come in, my lord. Turn in unto me, and fear not. Don't be afraid. I'll hide you. I'll protect you. And when he had turned in unto her into the tent, she covered him with the mantle, a cloth. And he said unto her, give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And she opened a bottle of milk and gave him to drink and covered him. Now you're running and you find this hiding place, and all you can think, I'm thirsty, can I have some water to drink? And trust someone you're just going to put your trust in this moment into someone else's hands? Verse 20, again he said unto her, stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be when any man doth come and inquire of thee and say, is there any man here? Thou shalt say no. Okay, go by the door. If anybody asks for me, I'm not here. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm thirsty. If any man comes to the door, tell them I'm not here. 21. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent and took a hammer in her hand, a nail and a hammer, and went softly unto him. Softly unto him, and smote the nail into his temples. And not only did she smote the nail, the hammer, into his temples, while he lay there, but she fastened it to the ground because he was fast asleep. Don't get caught sleeping. Now, does that sound like a woman that should be silent? The warrior spirit within her. She didn't just put the nail through his temples. She fastened it to the ground. That's gory. Some of you don't even want to kill a spider. Some of you run from a bee and bugs. Fastened it to the ground because he was fast asleep. And he died. And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him and said unto him, Come, and I will show thee the man whom thou seekest. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nails was in his temples. So God subdued on that day Jabin, the king of Canaan, before the children of Israel. God of Israel did not come down and whisper in Jael's ears to say, do this task. He didn't say, go kill this man. As a matter of fact, nobody told Jael to do this. She took it upon herself, the onus upon herself, to help this nation, to help this battle, and destroy this man who was causing harm to the Israelites. She was a warrior. She had that warrior spirit. And that's what I love, especially about this Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. Our women, our Israelite women are courageous. We're opinionated. We have so many different kinds of women here. I'm telling you, here at the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, we do not raise up our daughters to draw a line in the sand. They hold their head up high, and they walk with confidence and proud, so much so that they become business owners. Whether you want a shirt from Smiletivations or lip gloss from Dasa Cosmetics, or earrings from Boss Lady, or exercising from Wafa in England. There's so much that we Israelite women do because it is within us. When the God of Israel poured out his spirit upon man, he poured it out also upon woman. And because we came from man. And it is the greatest gift when we use it for good. So when we're changing, when we become transformed to be this courageous woman, it is pure joy. Anything that tests our faith or any trials that we're up against produces perseverance. Let's go to 1 Samuel 22. And the first verse reads, And David therefore departed thence, and escaped to the cave Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. And everyone that was in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontented, gathered themselves unto him, and he became a captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men. And David went thence to Mizpah of Moab, and he said unto the king of Moab, Let my father and my mother, I pray thee, come forth and be with you, till I know what God will do for me. And he brought them before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while David was in the hold. I'll stop there for now. As an Israelite, as we have said, the race is not for the swift. When we take a look at David's life, from a young lad, he had courage and confidence. He defeated the Goliath of the Philistines, that giant, basically proved himself to the physical eyes. Everyone that could see him, a scrawny young boy going up against Goliath. He was chosen by the God of Israel. When Samuel went to go find the new king of Israel to anoint him king, God of Israel said, "There is the lad in the field among the sheep. It is him who I've chosen, because he sees the inner and not the outward." And even when David was anointed, he was, as discussed last night, in last night's message, used to play the harp for Saul in his discomfort. And their relationship went sour, not on David's part, of course, but on Saul's. And many, many, many chances did David have to take Saul's life. Many chances. Yet, as we just read in the first verse, he departed thence and escaped to the cave Adullam. Escape. He was running for his life. For years, not a day, not 2 days, not a month, for years. Can you imagine that? Now that's some Jacobite behavior. You got to run from your own people. And can you imagine the mindset of David? You were chosen, you were anointed by the prophet Samuel to be king over Israel. You know this. Everything's going great, but yet you're running for your life. So much to the point that you end up in a cave, relying on whoever to get you food, bread, and water. Now, I don't know about you, but the human factor inside of me and the human behavior in me is going to be like, God, what's up? What's going on? You're going to start doubting yourself, wondering, well, maybe this isn't for me. What's happening? But David held on. He lived amongst his enemies, so much so that he went to the king of Moab, our enemies, to say, "Put up my mother and father while I'm in this enemy's land." A lot of the Psalms that we read from David are from his trials and tribulations. The servant, the anointed servant of the God of Israel, has gone through so much. So many Psalms that you read, it says, "Have mercy upon me. Hear me when I cry out for your voice." All these things that David is saying is because of the test and the burden that he has to bear from his own people. This journey and this race is not for the swift. I know for me, when I first came into this truth, I was daily inspired by the story of my forefather Joseph. I couldn't grasp it. I feel like I might have a little more. Like I said, everyone learns at their different pace. I couldn't grasp and I couldn't understand. First of all, Joseph would have dreams about leadership. And it was hard for me to grasp that his own brothers wanted to kill him. They wanted to kill him because of jealousy. And thankfully, one brother, Reuben, stood up and said, no, let's not shed the blood. My conscience will probably bother me. I can't sleep at night if I do that. Let's just put him in a pit. Let's just put him somewhere. So they put him down a pit. Doesn't say how long for, but food, water, what was happening? And then they see the Ishmaelites coming by, their spices and whatnot, and they sell him to the Ishmaelites. And where do Ishmaelites go? Of course, where all Ishmaelites go, to Egypt, of course. And they bring him to Egypt. Joseph only ended up in Egypt to end up in a house as a servant where he was accused by a woman, serious accusations. All the time he was innocent, but these terrible accusations got him put in prison. And we know he was in prison for at least a minimum of 3 years. We don't know the maximum. And this is the part that gets me all the time. While in prison, I've never been in prison. Maybe mentally. When I was a Jacobite and the shackles were there. But in prison, you have all the time to think. At least I should hope so. And you're there and you're thinking to yourself, my gosh, I used to have these dreams when I was young and about leadership, and being in a place of helping or doing something. Maybe I didn't quite understand. But then my brothers saw me, my own flesh and blood. They sold me. And then I end up here and this woman lied on me and I'm in jail now. Like, gosh, like God of Israel, like, what's up? What's going on? Talk about trials. No, everyone always talks about the great thing of him becoming the right hand and being the governor and all the wonderful things. I'm telling you, like, take the human factor. When he did finally come out of jail and see his brothers, would you have been that nice to your brothers? Regardless, I know some people that can hold a grudge and hold a grudge for a very long time. Someone said Scorpios. But the time that he was in prison, what plays on your thoughts? What plays on your subconscious? Can you even sleep at night? Do you think to yourself, my gosh, how am I going to get out of this? How did I get myself here? How did I end up here? But he held on. Whether he held on to the dream, whether he held on to whatever his father told him, whether he held close to the God of Israel, he held on no matter what he was faced with or tested with. He held on. So that when he finally was released, he walked his rightful and purposeful path of being an Israelite. I know some people at the first sight of danger, I'm out, I'm gone. And a small little tiny test, not even nothing, gigantic. It's not easy, this journey of being an Israelite. So I say to my newly supped brethren, stay the course. Be patient. Take your time. Let that zeal carry you through for years to come. Because when you do stay the course, and when you do let that zeal carry you through, this Israelite life is the most rewarding experience, the most rewarding. I'm telling you, this Israelite life to serve the greatest God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I say it all the time, so far better than rubies and golds, so far better than what the Gentiles teach you about a big house and a fancy car and a swimming pool. It would be nice to have a swimming pool, but it's so far better than anything. And even more importantly, that when you should leave this earth and sleep with your fathers, that you will be in the bosom of Abraham. So any trials, tribulations, tests, whatever comes along your path, if it's not consistently straight, you'll be tried, whether it's people on the job at work, 100 people, 100 employees, and they call you, Sarah, you're planning the Christmas party. Whether it's your immediate family, you may be the only person from your family that has gotten the awakening that you're an Israelite. And they can't understand what you're doing or why you're doing it. Why are you doing that? Where are you going? Why are you doing that? Whether you're the only child at school and all your friends are doing all these pagan things, the reward is greatest when you serve your God to end up in Abraham's bosom. So stay the course. Let your zeal carry you. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. There's so much that our forefathers went through. So much. It's unheard of. Sometimes you think, my gosh, did we do that? Did they really do that? Yes, they do. And if they can go through this, how much more so you? Let's start at verse 21. I speak, this is Paul in Corinth. I speak as concerning reproach, disapproving, disappointing, as though we had been weak. Howbeit, whereinsoever any is bold, I speak foolishly. I am also bold. Whatever anyone else dares to boast about, I'm speaking as a fool. I also dare to boast about it. Are they Hebrews? Well, guess what? So am I. I know the root of my lineage. Are they Israelites? So am I. I know who I am, for even Romans 11, verse 1 says that he's an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. Are they the seed of Abraham? Well, guess what? So am I, for he is the patriarch of our family. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more. Okay, now we're going to pump the brakes there, because Paul never was an apostle, and he never was in the company of Jesus the Christ. In labors more abundant, in stripes above measure, in prisons more frequent, in deaths often. Are they servants of Jesus the Christ? I'm out of my mind to speak like this. Like, I don't know what to say. I'm more. I have worked so much harder. He's pumping himself up here. He says, I've been in prison frequently for this truth. I've been in prison frequently for this truth. Where am I? Of the Jews, 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one. 39 lashes from my own people. 39 lashes, 5 times. You do the math. 39 times 5. That's a lot of lashes from your own people. Being severely flogged, severely beaten, not just a tap on the head. That's how your child's like 2 years. No, severely beaten, whipped. 3 times, thrice was I beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. Anybody ever watch a movie and see a woman get stoned? It is the most unsightful scene ever. It is, my gosh, it's unhuman almost. If you haven't, I can't think of any movies off the top of my head, but watching someone get stoned is an unsightful experience. It's not pleasant at all. 3 times, he says, he suffered shipwreck. A day, a night, and a day, and I have been in the deep. 3 times, can you imagine? He's been in one day at sea. Constantly he's on the move. In journeyings often in the pearls of waters, in the pearls of robbers, in the pearls my own countrymen, in pearls by the heathen, in pearls in the city, in pearls in the wilderness, in pearls in the sea, in pearls among false brethren. In weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and in thirst, in fasting often, in cold and nakedness. Besides those things that are without, that which cometh upon me daily, the care of all the churches. I have suffered all these things. All these things I've gone through. He's not lying, and he hasn't given up. So if he can go through these things, my goodness. If he can go through these things, this is my timer, guys, sorry. If he can go through these things, how much more anybody else? How much more you? Are you going to run at the sight of danger? If you were about to be stoned, would you still be in this truth? If you were severely flogged, if you were imprisoned, if you suffered shipwreck, would you stay this course? If you were in an accident, would you stay this course? Or would you run at the sight of the first sign of danger? The race is not for the swift, but for those who endure to the end. That's my time. Thank you, everyone. I will now call up my partner in righteousness of Remember the 400s, Remember the 400 Day today, Priest Tyrone.
Blessed is he that considereth the poor. The Lord will deliver him in time of trouble. The Lord will preserve him and keep him alive, and he shall be blessed upon the earth. And thou wilt not deliver him unto the will of his enemies. The Lord will strengthen him upon the bed of languishing. Thou wilt make all his bed in his sickness. I said, Lord, be merciful unto me and heal my soul, for I have sinned against thee. My enemies speak evil of me. When shall he die and his name perish? And if he come to see me, his heart gathereth iniquity to itself. And when he goeth abroad, he telleth it. All that hate me whisper together against me. Against me do they devise my hurt. An evil disease, say they, cleaveth fast unto him. But now that he lieth, he shall rise up no more. Yea, mine own familiar friend, in whom I trusted, which did eat of my bread, have lifted up his heel against me. But thou, O Lord, be merciful unto me, and raise me up, that I may requite them. By this I know that thou favourest me, because my enemy doth not triumph over me. And as for me, thou upholdest me in mine integrity, and settest me before thy face forever. Blessed be the Lord, God of Israel, from everlasting to everlasting. Amen and amen. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, where we just heard a great message from our very own Priest Doreen. Thank you very much, Priest Doreen. Great message today. Lots and lots of meat in there for this subject matter of the race is not for the swift. Now, before I get into my particular message, I would like to just say thank you very much to everyone who has donated to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. We're truly grateful for that. It's enabling us to get this message out across the entire world. We want to thank brethren, friends, and guests who've donated via our YouTube channel, that have donated directly to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. And we do ask that you continue to do so, because your donations go a very, very, very long way in bringing this message out to the entire world and bringing this voice from the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries to everybody that needs to hear according to the instructions given to our elder Shadrach by our Father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. So we are grateful and thankful for your donations, but please continue to donate, that we can continue to bring this message out worldwide. Priest Doreen said some wonderful, wonderful things in terms of the race is not for the swift. She took you down a genealogy, a memory lane, a trip, showing who we are as a people, that this has not been an overnight success. We are not an overnight success. Our fathers waited right from the beginning to bring us to himself again. He took us down through Abraham. Let's go a bit further back. Let's go right back from Shem, Ham and Japheth. But from the line of Shem, he waited patiently until someone that looked like him called Seth was born. And then Abraham beget Isaac, Isaac beget Jacob. Yes, there was Esau, but he had his part to play. But our God chose Jacob, whom he surnamed Israel. And that's a long period of time. Why didn't the God of Israel just do it just like that? This is my people today. That's it. Something to think about. Last week, Elder Andel and I, we were having a discussion about the children of Israel going into the land. After they've crossed the Red Sea, they saw such wonderful things of our fathers. Again, he took them through a journey, a particular journey, where he waited patiently. He heard the voices crying out to him. Deliver us, my God, our Father, deliver us from these chains, this bondage, this furnace of iron. Deliver us. And he did so. How? He waited. Why didn't he send the angel just to clear the entire Egyptian population and lead his people out that very same day? He waited patiently and he had a strategic plan in place. The race is not for the swift. Didn't happen overnight. Methodically, he waited. Moses came. Take off the shoes from off thy feet from where you're standing. The ground you're standing is holy ground. He saw the angel that consumed the bush and didn't burn. Wonderful sight. I try many times to imagine what that might look like. And I always fail because it's probably completely different. But you understand. Then he went now and said, what name should I say to these people when they ask me? Because as Priest Doreen quite rightly said, the Jacobites in Israel are always going to be questioning, why should I do this? Who's this? What's that? That's you and I. That's our fathers. Say unto them, I am who I am. What's wrong with you? But then he said, moreover, say unto them, I am have sent thee. But moreover, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and a memorial to all generations. This is many, many years ago. This was said when our people was led out of Egypt with a great, mighty, stretched out arm. Race is not for the swift. Why didn't it happen just then? It took its time, it took its course. Now we've left Egypt. Our father now has destroyed down all the gods of Egypt. He brought down the plagues upon the land. Israel was safe if they listened to instruction. Israel was safe in Goshen. They listened to instruction. So why didn't the God of Israel just move everything out in one day? Again, there's a process that took place. And the God of Israel, he did it for a specific reason. Now, they came to the Red Sea. And this is the part we walked through on dry ground. Moses raised up the staff. The blast of the God of Israel's nostrils parted the Red Sea. We walked through on dry ground happily. We went on to the other side. Now, if you know where the Red Sea is and where Canaan was, it's not that far. The maximum we discussed, maybe 14 days maximum, they should have been in the land that the God of Israel had swore unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that it would be unto them. Why? It took 40 years. Do you know why? Because they murmured in their tents. They wanted instant gratification. They needed to see Moses now. They needed to eat food now. Moses sang a song unto the God of Israel, as was described briefly yesterday by the Missouri branch. And they sang a song, but they wanted to see instant miracle now. Give me now. I don't want to wait. Even Moses, who led them out of Egypt, they saw the plagues, they saw the Spirit of our God with this man. They still murmured him and sought to destroy him amongst themselves. Imagine that. Very close to him. Went to destroy. So we see a pattern that's emerging with our people. It was very poignant that the God of Israel could have sent an angel. Why didn't he? We discussed this. Why didn't the God of Israel send one of his angels and go and just say, okay, stand, I'm from the captain of the Lord's hosts. I'm going to destroy all of these Canaanites for you and clear the way and move their bodies. All you've got to do is walk in and take their property. Take their possessions. It's all been said. Could have happened that way. But the murmuring, the discontent within them, the fact that when he sent 12 in, one from each tribe, to go and view the land, to show our people it's good, they came back with an evil report. 10 came back and they corrupted the entire congregation. 10. It's been stressed before. 10 men corrupted and brought back an evil report about, and you want to, let's get into it, about the God of Israel. It wasn't just the fact that they just corrupted the people with their disbelief, but their disbelief and unbelief in the God of Israel. Because the God of Israel gave the word to Moses, the land is good. But 10 men came back and said to the people, the land is bad. He's a liar. They corrupted themselves. They lied against our God. They showed who they really were, and they polluted everybody. A lie they told. And it was our God that was angry with them because it wasn't Moses they turned on. It was our God because they spoke against the man of God. You have to understand sometimes when you see your pattern in the behavioral patterns, is this you? Is this me? You see, we are spirits. Do you know what spirit you have? Do you have a spirit that was just a liar? A spirit that is just mischief? A spirit of the dead? Well, what do you have inside of you? You've got to think about these things. Or do you have a spirit that stood up like Phineas and sent the spear through those dissenters of our God? Do you have a spirit, even like Caleb, a different spirit, and stood up for our God? Do you have a spirit like Moses? No, that's going too far. But do you have that courageousness within you, like the Levites that stood with Moses and said, we are on the Lord's side? Do you have that? Again, the race is not for the swift. It's an endurance. It's a run for endurance because being an athlete, I understand what it takes. When you train, you prepare yourself for the race or the event that you're going into. You cannot prepare yourself outside of the rules of the event you're preparing for. If you're preparing to run a 100-meter sprint, you prepare yourself. You do the training. You eat the right foods. See, it's very close to how we are. We have to eat the right foods in order to win that race. In Israel, you've got to eat the right food to be able to serve our God long term, forever. If you decide to have some chocolates and cakes and say you're training for the Olympics, I don't even wish you good luck because there's nothing going to happen. Specific food for the event. Specific food, dietary laws we've been given as Israelites for this long race that we are running of an endurance to the end. Some of you, you are sucking down the prawns and the sweet lobsters and escargot and all these things, which I don't eat. I never have, thank the God of Israel. And pork and all that, it was sweet to your lips. But those things work against running the race and enduring to the end. You see? Similar when when we're competing. But the competition is for your life. Who is going to get to the end? Who's going to endure to the end? So a crown of righteousness will be placed on you, where you will have this. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Come in eternal rest. How many can you endure? How much? Have you ever run a marathon? Have you ever watched a marathon or even run a marathon? Who's ever attempted to run half a marathon? Half a marathon is very, very hard. Let's make that clear. To run a marathon, over 26 miles, is very, very far to run consistently, consistent pace, up and down in the valley. The rain hits you, the sun hits you, mudslides coming, you've got to keep going. Look at the race of a life of an Israelite. The race is not for the swift. It's not 100 meters. It's not here to there and then it's over. Oh no, you got to keep going. So if you've ill-prepared yourself, there is no chance. You will never see someone of my stature, my physique, going to run the marathon. It's absurd. I am not the right body shape to run a marathon at all. I need half my size plus, less. It's not going to happen. So I've been eating the wrong foods to run a marathon. I've been eating like a whole rack of lamb and a whole piece of meat and beef and too much rice, and then when I run the marathon, if I turn up on the start line, I look silly. These guys are like less than half my size, really quick and strong. I'll be like, don't worry guys, I'll get to 100 meters and I'm dead. Dead, done, no oxygen, because I have not prepared myself for the race ahead of me. And we're speaking about the race is not for the swift. It is a race of endurance until we get to the end. And the end is the end of your life. let's go to our scripture. And there is a few scriptures. There's loads. In fact, there's many scriptures in here that talks about enduring to the end, fighting to the end. But I want to go first off, just to get us warmed up, to the book of Hebrews. I'll go to the book of Hebrews, just so that we're warmed up and we understand where I'm going. Hebrews chapter 12. Turn with me, please. Everyone should have your sword on with you. Hebrews chapter 12, and I'm going to read from verse 1. There's a couple of verses here. I'd love to read it full, but I'll go from verse 1. It says, "Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses." Now, witnesses is audience. People that are looking on, just like a race. You're in the stadium, you've got 30,000, 100,000 people in the stadium watching you run this race. Simple, exactly the same thing. But these witnesses are in the crowds, a host in the clouds watching. "Let us lay aside every weight." I kind of said that. The things that's going to hold you back from achieving or finishing that race, that endurance to the end. Those things we need to understand we have to lay aside. You have to know what that is. "And sin, which doth easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us." Run with patience the race that is set before us. When you come to the understanding, as Priest Doreen said, you're no longer a Jacobite, running around doing all kinds of foolishness, worshiping other gods. Priest Doreen saying, singing, giving your hard-earned voices, your talent given to you by the God of Israel, singing to all these gods of the dead, giving all your tithes money. Elder Amdel said over 400 billion in these shrines, not one penny to my God. My God of Israel sees none, zero. You've now come to the understanding, I am an Israelite. And you come to the understanding of self. You know who Elder Shadrach is in the council. And now you are baptized under the cloud. And now you become this Israelite. And you stand firm and you know who you are. Your journey has just begun. Your journey has just begun. You think it will be bed of roses? It will not. You can have great times. Don't get me wrong. We have great times. We sing. We've got great singers, Cheryl, Natasha, who else? We've got Tammy. We've got great singers in this nation that can sing and bring emotion to your heart and your soul. We feast with our Elder Shadrach and the council, with our brethren, and we laugh and we joke. We sing praises to our God. We keep the law, statute, commandments. Great times. We bow before our God in our designated place, before our altar. But there are times you have to understand, as a runner running a race, you're going to go through the valley. You're going to go down. You've got to run down to get back up. That's the path that's been chosen for you. That's the path you have to take to finish the race. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be cold sometimes. It's going to be rocky. There's going to be rocks going to fall off to get you. The heat's going to heat up and heat you up. That's it. What are you going to do? You're going to stop? You're going to fail? Think about the races. Think about someone who runs in a marathon. They must continue to the end. Sometimes you see the guys running the races and they're just about to get to the finishing line. You can Google it and their legs are giving up. Their body is going into shock, complete shock, but the mark is there. They have to press towards the mark and finish. Sometimes they're so weak. You also see it too. Again, this all applies to this doctrine of truth. You have your brethren on the side and he will hold you because he's a little bit stronger and he will carry you through until you get to that finishing line. And now you can relax. You see it. There's two famous brothers who always do that. They compete together. And when one is at the finishing line at the end and the other one's coming, he sees his brother right there. He could run right past his brother and win. He doesn't. He stops. He grabs his brother and he runs with him and pushes his brother across the line. Then he finishes. That is brethren. That is an Israelite. That's someone that's going to be with you to the end until you die in the nation. And you die hand in hand, need be, because you fight to the end. You fight on the side of truth. I'm going to read the second verse. Looking unto Jesus, understand what we mean, understand what he's saying. The author and finisher of our faith, who for joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. He went through everything. He went through the shame. People laugh at him. Look at him. Look at this. Is this the Son of God? You can imagine it. He's our people. Look at him. Murmuring, spit on him, throw stones at him. And this is your own Israelite brethren, going to other Israelite brethren to come, let's do the same. We were just speaking about stoning. You know how hard stoning is? Has anyone been stoned? Like literally. Elder Michael says he has. You know how hard a stone is? And it pelt your skin and it pelt your eyes and your teeth fall out, your eyes black up, and you don't die yet because it's a slow process. And you know Israelites would enjoy it. That's the thing. They would enjoy the stoning. Don't kill him yet, guys. Let me get him. And you fend the stone and, that was a good one. Send him again. You have to understand what he endured. What did it say in the book of John 10? It says, a servant is not greater than his master. Neither is he that is sent greater than he that sent him. So if you think that they will do that, this won't happen to you, you're wrong. You're wrong, because they did it to Jesus, the Christ. And we're not greater than the Christ. So if they'll do it to him, they'll do it to me. They'll do it to you. Endure it. He endured it. And now where is he? Seated at the right. What does it say? It said he's set down at the right hand of the throne of God. That was his path to endure to get that. That's not your path. You're not sitting on the right hand side of God. Just so you understand that. You're not doing that, but you endure to. So when you endure to the end, you will get to the destination prepared for you. He said in my Father's house, John 14, there are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, you will be also. Not literally in heaven. Understand what he's saying. So it's an endurance to the end. How do you get there? How do you get there? Do you just get to being in heavenly places just by sitting down and, it's all right, and, peace everybody, and I'm so good. I'm so happy to be an Israelite. It's good. Laughing and joking. It's wonderful. You need to go through some pain. You need to go through fight. You have to understand who you are. And if you're not going through that, there's something wrong with you. You need to feel the heat of the battle. You need to understand what it feels like to fight. You have to understand a servant is not greater than his master. They're going to come after you, but I tell you what, count it all a joy when they come after you. Read the book of Romans 5. We're going to get there. We'll get there. In fact, let's go there now. Romans chapter 5. I'm going to get to the Jews part. Don't worry, I'm coming. Let's get to Romans chapter 5 first. Because I want everyone to fully understand what it is that I'm saying. Go back a bit. Romans chapter 5. And we're going to read from verse 3 and 4. My pages are sticking. Here we go. Romans chapter 5 and verse 3 to 4. It says now, in fact, I'm going to read from verse 1. Therefore, being justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom also we have access by faith into his grace wherein we stand. If you don't have peace with the God of Israel, you don't have access. That's the first of all that you need to understand. No peace with the God of Israel, no access. You can't know the Christ, you have no access. Understand what that is and whom he sent. The people didn't have peace with Moses. They certainly didn't have peace with God. They entered not into his rest, as Elder Andrew said. So understand the scriptures interlink. But only if you have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, you'd understand that. Let me read on. By whom also we have access by faith into this grace, wherein we stand and rejoice in hope of the glory of God. And not only so, but we glory in tribulation. I don't know, no one's read that yet. Everyone's read the nice part. We go to heaven, the kingdom of heaven, and my brethren loves me, and that's nice. But when you read this part, it says, and not only so, but we glory in tribulation, also knowing that tribulation worketh patience. If you're not going through tribulation, there's something wrong with you. There is, because there's something that needs to work within you. It's endurance to the end, you see. When you run a race, you don't run a race fast like that. It's not. An endurance race is not fast. An endurance race is patience, You're patient. You're going. You breathe. Your arms, everything is moving. But you're patiently waiting to strike. Sometimes the one that starts the race first is way back there. You don't win. The one that's at the back of those thousands of people running the marathon wins the race. Patience. Doesn't mean that he lost from the start, no. He understands the principle of the race or the conditions to win. And the conditions is, one of them is patience. You set yourself the pace. You've done what you've prepared your body. You prepared your mind. You prepared, this is the direction. I know it's raining outside. Am I going to be put off? I know it's just saw lightning. They didn't cancel the race. I see it's slippery. My feet will be strong. You understand? Patience. Let's read on. And patience, we just said it, experience. And experience, hope. You see, if you have patience, you're going to have the experience. You know what? I've been here before, you know. I'm at the way back of the race. I'll tell you a story, very quick one. I had a race to run many years ago, and I knew that I could win this race easily. And my test came in the race where I came at the starting blocks, and the blocks flew out from underneath my feet, and I fell bam on my face. I looked to the umpire. The umpire looked at me, didn't pull back the race. These guys were 25 meters ahead. I put my head down, and I did what I did. I drove my phase. I went through the phases of my run, and I still won. And I ran 10.8 from falling on my face. And I was angry with myself because I wanted to run faster, but I won the race. The problem, what I'm trying to say is patience works experience. You have patience in the race, you know, okay, pace yourself. Understand the target, look ahead. It's not these guys, something happened, overcome it, go forward. Sometimes you fall in your face. I've seen people fall in the face, they get up and they hiss their teeth, black people, children of Jacob, and then they walk off and then they lost the race. I tell you, but you just trained 4 or 5 weeks, that's it. Even if I have to run the whole run by myself, you run. You don't give up. Patience. Let's continue. And experience hope. And the hope is I'm going to win. You know, I fell on my face. Okay, cool. Get up, run. My experience is going to take me through. If I do these things, apply patience, I'm going to get it. The hope is I'm going to win this race. And I won. And you will win. But there's a process. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost, which is given unto us. Israel, Spirit of truth, given unto us. So when you're competing and understanding, when I say competition, you're in this for your own soul. Let's turn to the book of Matthew. Matthew, gone too far. Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. I want to get really a bit more into the juice and the fullness of when we are saying the race is not for the swift. And Jesus went out and departed from the temple. I'm reading Matthew 24 from verse 1. And his disciples came unto him for to show him the building of the temple. And Jesus said unto him, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. Don't you see this today? Don't you see this today? Where is the temple? I can't see it. It's all thrown down to dust. Remnants of our Father's home. He already said it. But it's happened in this time. Keep on reading with me. Verse 3, and he sat down upon the Mount Olives. The disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? Listen to that. They're saying this then, thinking this is coming up soon, guys. Tell us. No, I'm not in those days. You're not in those days. But look where we are today. Same things is happening. Let's read on. And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. We're talking about the race is not for the swift. No man come and deceive you. Why? Because many of them will come. Let's read. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Don't we see that today? Jesus Christ for the latter-day saints. Christ be with you inside of me. The remembrance of Christ and all these, I don't know. Some man walking around saying he's Christ. He's wearing long hair, raggedy clothes, walking on the streets of America. Look it up, you see. They even put out this stupid film called The Messiah. I don't understand. All these things, they're going to say that Christ is here, Christ is everywhere. And they shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Don't you see that? You're seeing countries fighting against countries. In the Americas or the New Egypt, they're fighting against themselves. They're saying this one, no, we want this. This coronavirus is free. No, you got to do this. You got the people, the Ku Klux Klan, the people who don't like children of Jacob, the Jacobites rallying with guns, stomping down Capitol Hill. If there was any Jacobite going, they're all dead. Then they're turning on each other. Now, wars, internal wars, external wars, it's happening. Day and night. This is happening now. So when Jesus the Christ is speaking, he's speaking for now. Run your race. He ran his course. But he says, for all things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. These things will happen. The end will not come just yet. It's not so easy, you see. It's not so easy. When we're talking about running a race, you have 1,000 people that would start a marathon. A handful or less of that will finish the race. You have to understand what I'm saying. For nation shall rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Don't we see this? Did you know that? Just go and read 2 days ago. They were saying that the coronavirus plague or the coronavirus pandemic is that of which biblical performance of biblical prophecies of the famine that is about to come. The UN said that. Check it out online. Biblical platform. That's what they're saying with all these famines. We're seeing it now. We're seeing what's happening over in India. We're seeing what's happening in various parts of the world. In Nigeria, there's famine, there's a shortage of food. They're killing each other for food. Some say that they would rather die of coronavirus than die of hunger. That's a statement that's coming out all over. They'd rather die of the virus than hunger. They need to eat. They're killing each other for food. There's no food. They're dying, dropping down in the street. We're seeing it now. Let's go in to verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. The beginning. So when you're seeing this happening, Elder Andrew said that some brethren are asking, no, when are we going to come into great substance? No, judgment must happen first. And in that judgment is the beginning of sorrows. And as Elder Michael said, that it has affected every single country, continent in this world. Everything is affected. Everything. There is not one country that is not affected by this. Not one. Then they shall, this is the part that I want to really, for you to listen carefully to. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted. Who? Who will deliver you up to be afflicted? Who? Let me give you some background. When they came, when Judas decided that he needed 30 pieces of silver, who did he go to? The chief priests, scribes, men of renown? Israel. That's who he went to. That's who he's talking about. They will deliver. The servant is not greater than his master. We read it. They will deliver you up to be afflicted. And shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. You see, sometimes you have to understand what is going on in the world today, especially with our people, the children of Jacob and the children of Israel. You see, there's a question you have to ask yourself. What spirit do you have inside of you? You have a rebellious spirit within you. You have some spirit of the dead. You have the spirit of other people. They're jumping inside of you and making you do all kind of acts and making you turn against the own people, the own one that's shown you the way to run. But you know what you're doing? You cut short your race. You decided, I don't want to win. I don't want to run this journey. It's too hard for me. It's too laborious. So if I go and sell my soul over this side, that means I will get more. But you see, the price is that you've got to sell someone from your own for you to get that prize that you so want to seek. Your blood, you've got to give up a blood. It works the same way. You want something, I'll give it to you. He'll give it to you. But you've got to sell someone out. It works the same way. Judas needed 30 pieces of silver. Okay, but give us him so we can kill him. Same principle, same spirit. And what is that spirit? I asked you, what spirit do you have? Satan, because the spirit of Satan went into him. And that's what's inside many of you today. It's okay. If you want to do that, just stay away from us because we got slayers here. I'm telling you what's happening. Okay. I said, and then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. Yes, that's what they would do. They'll be offended. Why are they offended? Because you speak the truth. They don't like you. They'll conjure things within inside of themselves to hate you and make sure that you are wiped off. Look what they did with Jesus the Christ. Read back the stories. Who does he think he is? He calls himself this. He says he's this. All this behind his back as if he didn't know. We mean the scriptures. He knew. But you know what? Like a lamb to the slaughter, he opened not his mouth. Because you know why? He said, don't think I cannot call down legions of angels to come down in a split second and wipe you all off this face. But that's not my job. That's not my job. I will bear this heavy cup, which has been given to me by him who sent me. I'll bear it because he has sent me and I am not greater than him. That's our brethren. And many false prophets shall arise and shall deceive many. You see this today. You see this today. They call themselves Prophet Abednego, Prophet Yahweh, Prophet Ben Shawu. All these prophets. There's so many false prophets of the dead. Little do you know that they work in witchcraft daily to attain what they have. We go to the witch doctor and they take a pig's head, and I'll tell you, they put it in the middle of their shrine. And as much as that pig head starts to die and all the maggots are coming up, one by one, every maggot is everybody coming into their shrine. Go and learn your history about these so-called prophetic ministries and the wickedness and what they do, of how to attain people like you. Children of Jacob, their shrines are filling up by the day. Just packing into all these. Oh man, and you don't even know the nasty spirit that you've now obtained. And you can't shake it off. You can't. You're too weak. That's the problem. Okay, read number 12. It says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Wickedness, evil, the things that make you feel so good doing, you love it. You can't turn around and hug your brethren. You can't, because you talk too much about them, so you can't go and hug them. You murmur so much, you hurt each other so much, you aim to kill each other. Why? The love of yours is cold. Don't come and hug me with a cold heart. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. Endure what? Endure all of the above. That's what he's saying. Plus the rest to come. If you can endure those things, if you could run that type of race, some people think, yeah, I can run a race. I'm good. I'm fast. I had a young Rise member offered me out to a race, which the race never took place, by the way. But I think it's because of COVID. I'm going to give it that it's because of COVID. You know, a young Rise member, he threw down the gauntlet to me. I mean, he almost had me scared. He almost had me scared. I'm like, wow, this guy's, he could be filled with the Spirit of God. I'm finished, man. Like a David, but it didn't happen. I said, listen, man. I'm ready for you. I'm ready. What race are you ready to run? What race are you willing to run? Because this race that we're talking about here is the race for your soul. And this race is the hardest race of all. If you want to know about races of gullies and running, go and watch the hardest race in the world in Fiji and see if you could do that race. If you could do that race, this one should be even greater for you. Because that race there, I watched those men and women go 48 hours or so with no sleep, and they're going from one part of terrain to another, mountain, going low, running, jogging, no food, sleeping on 10, 20 minutes, no sleep. By the time they started, if you saw the way they looked at the end, they were two different men. The guy, he looked like he lost about 50 pounds in weight. He started a good, strong, guy, but that was the best team to win because he knew, he prepared himself This is the number one team for these world races. The number one. But they prepare themselves. They focus. They know what they're going to experience. They know the sleep deprivation. They know the starvation. They know that they're going to fall down and they're going to go in the mudslide and they're going to be attacked by wasps and bees and all these things because they're in the rainforest. But you know, they endured to the end and they won. They had to go and row. Imagine you're rowing and no food in your belly and you've got to row across the sea in pitch darkness. Let's talk about running a race, and it's not for the swift. This race that we're running is for those who can endure to the end. The end means to the end of your life, not to your end of your time. You know, yes, I'm okay now. I think I'm okay. I've attained much from the Israelite nation. I think I've run my race. And you take yourself, that's not running a race. That's not running a race. You didn't win nothing. You think because you got a nice car, that's nice, house, you come in, you poached one of the wives, you come and you poached one of the husbands and you took yourself and you got so beautiful and you won. You won nothing. You won a one-way ticket to the other side. That's what you did. And that's it. Because the God of Israel said, those who endure to the end shall be saved, the end of your life. That means the last breath should be my God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I hope that all what I've done in serving you has been enough. I hope that I've crossed this finish as I'm crossing this finishing line from one life now to the other, to the real life. To the real life. God of Israel, please, I pray, I've done everything. Do you know, I'll give you a quick synopsis, a quick story. There was one of the Canadian Olympic hopefuls champions in one of these events. He actually caught the coronavirus. And what he did, he had a dramatic shortness of breath. They put him straight into the ICU. He picked up the phone with his last breath. You can look this up. He called family and friends and people, and he made peace with them. That's what he did. He said, I'm sorry. Well, if I've offended you, in his mind, he's dead. He was going to die. I read his story. And I'm like, wow, he made peace because he's on death's door. Imagine that. Imagine if you don't get the opportunity to, but you have the opportunity now. That's something to think about. It's part of running a race. It's part of the race. You're going to get to the end and you're like, I don't know. The rich man thought he was going somewhere. He went nowhere. Why? Look at what he did. Look at what he did to Lazarus. He thought, sorry, Lazarus, I'm cool. Probably didn't have Lazarus. Nah, it's okay, man. But when that time came, that's what he got judged on. That's hard. When he had the opportunity, okay, Lazarus, here's a little food and something. That could have helped him. Something to think about. Verse 14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Do you understand? So when people say that this God he doesn't like black people, he doesn't like Gentiles and all these people, it's foolish things I hear. He just said, preach into all the nations. He just, all the nations, isn't all black. Huh? And who's black anyway? How'd you know? I have a brother right here. He's got more Israel than even Israel inside of him. Huh? All these things is a lack of education. That's the problem. Let's read on. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Go back and read the book of Daniel because he actually explains that. And that's why it says it here. But whosoever readeth, let him understand. I'm not going to go to that for you. You can, at your time, go and read that. Then let them which be in Judah flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field turn back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Those days, he's speaking about the last days. You better start running because it's going to be a tough time wherein these be the last days. After the 400 years comes judgment. And then Israel will be a third with Egypt. You have to understand what our Father is saying. To be able to even get to this point, you have to be at the Israelite nation, worldwide ministries, where you have to exercise your legs. You have to understand that you got to start running. And when I mean running, not running away from our God, you're running towards him. And if you're running towards our God, you have to be in rule. You have to know the rules. You have to know what I should be doing. You cannot be saying I'm running toward the God of Israel, but I don't understand. I don't know what race you're running. Because if you're in a marathon race, you can't say, I don't want to do the marathon race. I'm going to make my own race, and I'm still going to win. You ain't winning nothing. No one even acknowledges you. No one even acknowledges you. You're running another race that makes no sense. I will serve God how I want. That's not what he said. I will eat what I want. That's not what he said. I will call him another name. That's certainly not what he said. So the race you're running is in vain. Let's read on. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, for then shall be great tribulation, such as there was not since the beginning of the world, not to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Are you ready for that to come? It's coming. We're seeing mass deaths right now, in India particularly, and other parts of the world, which hasn't been reported. Mass deaths, a country of over 1.7 billion people. At least one in every household has coronavirus, and they're burning bodies daily. Thousands, just burning them. They said that the same variant in India is in the UK. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Isn't that beautiful? Our God is saying, only because of my chosen, my elect, the select people, the very small remnant that keeps the law, statutes, commandments, the very small remnant at the front of the race. Look, they're running together. Those guys, I got to protect them. Those guys, I'm going to make their race easier by shortening the days for them. Because those other guys, their flesh is going to fall off their skin. The tribulation is going to come. They're going to be destroyed. Coronavirus has come. They're going to die in the street. They're going to try to run, but they can't move. They can't move because they're not his elect. He didn't select them. It's a scary thing to be not in the selection. My old coach, who was Jamaican, he used to say to me, Tyrone, in order to get into the race, you have to get into the dance. You have to be in the dance in order to compete. And I understand what he's saying, but what he just meant to say is that in playing English, you need to be in the race to compete. I understand that. But, you have to bring the dance all part in there and stuff. So I understand his terminology. Right? But if you're not in that race, there's no choice. There's no choice for you. There's no real hope. Then, if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Imagine how powerful that spirit of Egypt is. Imagine how powerful that spirit of Satan is. The dead is so powerful because they're going to manifest themselves to try to have the immolation, to try to have the figure, to try to have the talk, to try to they stole the name of Christ. And they're going to deceive, even if it were possible, the very elect. That you cannot take for granted. That's like saying, I'm going to change their course of direction. You're running the race, right? The direction is this way. You have all arrows pointing ahead. There's an arrow or someone says, come this way. A sign says, come this way. If you go this way, it's quicker to get there. You understand what I'm saying? Quick. Okay, let me go that way because if it were possible, you will be deceived. Run this race with patience. Stay according to the rules, the instructions. Why is that so difficult? Why is that so difficult? Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. It shall be seen. If you have a spiritual eye to see it, you shall see it. But if you're not elected, how can you see it? When will you know? Questions I'm going to pose because I want to see if you understand what's being said. For whosoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Let me read that again. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. The dead. The dead. You know, eagles coming on eat on flesh. The dead. Plenty of them. You see them groping hands, as Priest Doreen saying, and in solidarity. And I understand what you're doing. You're groping. You see like the dead body. What's his name? You know, Dark Man. And you see all the carcass, the dead body. You can see the eagles come, vultures. You see them. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Understand what's being read. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other. You see his elect spread across the nations. Those who he's chosen. Elect, you're selected. Why? Because you ran the race with patience. The angels are not going to come and say, oh, yeah, okay, I'll take Lennox, because Lennox keeps the law great. I'm going to take Yeshua ben Reuben. No. Yeshua ben Reuben doesn't know who the law is. He's not part of God of Israel's elected because the election process has got rules. To be elected, you fill out the application form. If you meet the criteria, then you are elected. You're selected. There's a process. Yeshua ben Reuben is calling the wrong name. Sorry. Uncircumcised. Tassels for days. You know, I don't understand. Doesn't understand the scriptures at all. Doesn't even like his own mum because he doesn't like women. Strange. Okay. Or the other way around. Doesn't like women, so he doesn't like his mum. Weird, man, weird. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know the summer is nigh. So likewise ye shall see all things. Know it is near, even at the door. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Do you understand that? Heaven and earth will pass, but his word can never ever pass. I said before, some of the wickedest people I know bow down to the old rugged cross. They bow down to it, and they're in the billions. And they say that this book of the law has been done away with. All you got to do, like Priest Doreen said, all they said is just love each other. Just love. You are the same like the bumblebee. You're the same like the grass. It is ridiculous and it's a false doctrine. It says they will come with lies. They will come speaking as if they are with Christ. They will bear his name. Even in the book of Jeremiah 40, it says these things. They will come, but they are wolves in sheep clothing. Don't be so easily lured off the path of righteousness, off the path of truth. You cannot and should not be so easily moved. Let's go to one more scripture while I have time. Just while I have a little bit more time. And I'll go to the book of Deuteronomy. And I'll go to 31. Deuteronomy 31. And again, Moses is encouraging the children of Israel. No one else. The charge wasn't given to no one else to run this race. The charge was not given to no one else to be steadfast in your approach. The charge was not given to no one else to keep his law, statutes, commandments, to eat correctly for the race you're about to run. Why? Because your spirit and your body needs to be edified, need to be strengthened. That's the purpose. Every race you go to, you cannot say, I'm going to run a race on an empty stomach, you'll die. You got to prepare yourself. Every race you go to. So again, our God is wise. And in his wisdom, he's already given us what we need physically. And he's given us a race so we can use our brain and think about what he's saying. The race is not for the swift, but for those who can endure to the end. They shall be saved. He says in 2 Timothy 4, if you endure to the end, a crown of righteousness is waiting for you. To the end. How do you get the crown of righteousness? How do you obtain the crown of righteousness? Okay, I've had my lot now. I'm going to leave the Israelite nation and, I'll just wait for God. Wait for who? You have not endured this nation. You've not endured anything. In fact, you're just back to less than the beginning. Your clock stops there. That's it. Who's going to come and present you the crown of righteousness? Who? Can someone in the chat room tell me who? If you've... Okay. Let's go. Oh. And it says, I'm going to read Deuteronomy 31. And I'm going to read this song. And this song was by Moses. It says, I'm going to read from verse 21. And it shall come, actually, let me go back. I'm going to read from verse 19. 31:19. Now therefore write ye this song for you, and teach it in the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. You know why you like to sing? Sing. There's a reason why. It's a melody. When I was younger, most of you from the Caribbean also must know that they used to make a sing a times table. 1 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2. Yeah. I know you guys know. Lennox definitely knows, right? And if you didn't know how to sing it, because that's the way how you remembered your times table. You had to sing the times table. So now it's the same thing. Sing these words to the children of Israel, so there'll be a witness against them. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves and waxen fat. Guys, you got to read this full scripture, because it's talking about Israel today. It's talking about the children of Jacob today. Listen to what it says. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten, like to eat food, lots, and fill themselves and waxen fat. That means you're big. You know what they say? So if you've got a big belly, it means you're a chief. That means you're very successful. You've got a big belly. If you've got a flat belly like me, you're meant to be poor. I don't know. But they're fat. Then will they turn unto other gods and serve them and provoke me and break my covenant. Do you understand what our God is saying? You've gained everything from this nation. You've gained everything that the God of Israel has given to our elder Shadrach. You pulled from the resources of the land where he said, my name is, from where the pillar at the border is. You've taken and taken and taken. You're fat now. You've got everything you need. Then you turn your back and you go and serve another stinking God of the dead. That's what you've done. That's what the God of Israel is saying. You serve another God. That's what he said. And you broke his covenant. You go and tattoo up all your system, and I don't understand what you're doing. Or you go back to Egypt. That's it. And it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles have befallen them, that this song shall testify against them as a witness, for it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their imagination, which they go about, even now, before I have brought them into the land which I swear. You see, I know what you're thinking. You're going to be plagued with all these things because you turn your back on the God of Israel. You decided to take a shortcut on your journey. You came and you're not going to run and endure to the end. You're going to take a shortcut because you said, you know what, I've got everything now. Now I can just go this way and worship another God. And I'm good. I've taken everything. And you break his promise. You break the covenant repetitively, habitually. That's what it is. Leaving our God's home, house, path, Call it what you will. It's a race to the end because you're going every single day. You're eating every single day clean foods for the benefit of your spirit and your body. That sounds like an athlete to me. That sounds like someone that's preparing for a race. Because if you go in there eating swine, you can't bow down before my God. If you go in there and eating all manner of prawns and lobsters, you can't pray and call upon the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So where are you going to? The race you're running is null and void. You eat the sweet meat that he's given to us at the Passover. Angels with unleavened bread in its season. And what does that do to you? All those that took part in the Passover, what did it do to you? It cleaned out your system. Your stomach is clean. You feel strong. You feel strong because now you're ready, right? A bib, new moon, everything. You kept the holy convocations. Now it's over. You're ready to fight now. Now you're ready. But you didn't do it, so therefore I don't know what you're fighting. You're fighting nothing. You're just waiting to die and being led and shuffled along. Maybe, I've got it, Priest Doreen. That's it. You know what they're doing? Because they love worshiping the dead so much. And those that leave our God that worship, do you know who they go to? It's true. They go back and worship the spirit of Egypt. So you know who's going to meet them? At the pearly gates? Nubis. The God of the dead. That's who you're waiting for. That's the God. That's where you're going. The same stinking God with a face like a dog. That's who you're going to meet. That's the one that's going to say, come. And you're going to be terrified, but you're gone. And you know why you're going to go more? Because he has the ankh in his hand. So therefore you're going to go. You have the sign of the cross. Go to hell. Go to hell. And may the God of Israel bless every single Israelite that call upon his name, that runs in the race of patience, that runs and endures to the end. And I can tell you there are 2 men that have endured many in this nation with our Elder Shadrach. We have Elder Castrilli, the first one who listened to our God. Through our Elder Shadrach, and we have Elder Michael. Endurance to the end. They've seen many come and many go. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel for our fathers, even those fathers in this nation. For he says, who is my mother? Who is my father? Who is my mother? Those that serve the same God as me. Brethren, have a great day. And may the God of Israel bless all Israel and all those that want to call upon our God. Seek him when he yet can be found. Text, call him, ascribe to our channels, subscribe to our channels. Ask questions, and even be at peace. Peace, brethren.
You gotta walk against the tide. Some will bear fruit, the rest will drop by the side. The voice said, it's not a race for the swift, it's for those who endure and those who finish. The Spirit said, you gotta walk against the tide. Some will bear fruit, the rest will drop by the side. The voice said, it's not a race for the swift, it's for those who endure and those who finish. First comes pride, followed by the drop. Ego lifts yourself to heights that you're really not. Arrogance beats the chest, your nose raises. Then the tongue starts to give yourself praises. Your face appears a little more hard. Then you walk like you're the man in charge. The brain says, let's start to make our own decisions. Then the eyes get blinded from your division. Then the hands don't lift up and pray less. Then the whole body becomes entertained by a guest. The heart gets sick, the spirit gets weak. Then of course the ears are deaf when help speaks. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. When that slips, you get kicked out of the kingdom. Walk humble, praises, others will sing them. Be meek, the kingdom of heaven is like a children. The Spirit said, you gotta walk against the tide. Some will bear fruit, the rest will drop by the side. The voice said, it's not a race for the swift, it's for those who endure and those who finish. The Spirit said, you gotta walk against the tide. Some will bear fruit, the rest will drop by the side. The voice said, it's not a race for the swift, it's for those who endure and those who finish. I've seen people cry and pray like it's the end. Still wet from the river, never ever seen again. I've been told you love me, cried over my shoulders. Then you flash cause you're just an enemy soldier. The evil seed is real. If you think it's not, then you might become fertile soil in a flower pot. Rejoice in the laws, love one another. Strengthen the weak, keep an eye on each other. Sisters and brothers, elders and priests, walk together in peace and let strife cease. We gotta walk through the trenches and pace through the valley of the shadow of death with unbearable stenches. The torch gotta pass, Jacob gotta take it. David cut the timbers and Solomon he made it. Every single step we take we get graded. Some will pass the gates, the rest will get faded. Spirit said, you gotta walk against the tide. Some will bear fruit, the rest will drop by the side. The voice said, it's not a race for the swift, it's for those who endure and those who finish. The Spirit said, you gotta walk against the tide. Some will bear fruit, the rest will drop by the side. The voice said, it's not a race for the swift, it's for those who endure and those who finish. The Spirit said, you gotta walk against the tide. Some will bear fruit, the rest will drop by the side. The voice said, it's not a race for the swift, it's for those who endure and those who finish. The Spirit said, you gotta walk against the tide. Some will bear fruit, the rest will drop by the side. The voice said, it's not a race for the swift.